Okay, thank you, Rabbi Grunberg. Does everyone have a sheet? Okay, let me need more. So we're going to try and do something a little ambitious. We're going to go through all of the mitzvahs that pertain to interpersonal relationships in the next 40 minutes. We have a list here. These are some of them. There are 13 on the list. The Chafetz Chaim counts an additional, the total of 31. And these mitzvahs are close placed to my heart because when I was living in Israel with my wife, we had night seder, and it's a night study program, just in this topic of between man and man. And it's one of the legs upon which the world stands. The world stands on three things: Torah, Avoda, Ugulis Chasadim. Torah means gaining wisdom. Avoda means connecting to God. Ugulis Chasadim means doing acts of kindness. And really, these three things are the three dimensions of relationship. There are only three relationships you have in the world. For others, well, between you and others, that's the topic of this discussion. Between you and God, and between you and yourself. So Torah is a relationship with yourself, becoming a wiser person. Prayer is a relationship with God. And Chesed is your relationship with others. So we're going to discuss one of the legs upon which the entire world stands. And the great thing about this leg is that it's very easy. Anytime you encounter another human being, there are a whole myriad of mitzvahs that come to hand. So we're going to go through them pretty quickly. We're going to do it as there are two types of Torah learning. There's what's called bekius, which means breadth. So we're going to do it an inch deep but a mile wide. There's be'iyun, which is going in depth. That would be an inch wide but a mile deep. So today is just going to be a breadth overview. I invite you later, maybe we'll do other study sessions, we'll go in depth. So the first one we're going to start off with is love your fellow as yourself. And this sounds obvious, but the Jewish people brought to the world through the Torah. This is not common back when the Torah came onto the scene at Sinai 2,000 years ago. And in fact, the whole world calls it the Golden Rule. And a whole bunch of others that will follow from it. So how do we do this? How do we do this mitzvah? So the two aspects, action and feeling. Action, says the Rambam, the Safer B'Shvacho, to talk positively of others. You can do the mitzvah very easily by talking positively of somebody else. But achas al mamon, and to take care of his stuff. His jacket's on the back of the chair, falls on the floor, and you pick it up. That's the mitzvah of Ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Good? Yeah? Okay, interrupt with questions at any point. So that's feeling. Taking care of his stuff and talking positively of him. That's actions. The Ramban says
to him or to someone else.
Both. So the way that he phrases it is l'safet b'shvachlo. It sounds like two other people, and the Rambam concludes just like you would like to have other people speak positively about you. But speaking to the person himself, giving him encouragement, of course, is also a mitzvah. So we're not limiting it to these specific examples. It's broad. The Ramban says, love somebody else like you love yourself? How could you ever? You're much more invested in yourself. You take care of your own stuff more than somebody else's. The Ramban says that this mitzvah is to want somebody else's success the way you want your own. To want somebody else's success the way you want your own. And he says to eliminate any shred of jealousy. So what happens if you only have one or the other? I want it to be successful, I'm not going to do anything for it. So you're missing half the mitzvah. Or I'll do stuff for him. I'll pick up his jacket. I'll lend him a pencil. I'll tell him what time it is. But I don't really care about it. So you're missing it. So it's really both. You got to do it in action, and you got to have the feeling behind it. How obligated are you? So there are two aspects. Hillel's famous words, the ger, non-Jew, comes to him and says, please convert me while I stand on one foot. And Shammai kicks him away, but Hillel says, sure, that which is irritating to you, I translate that which is hateful to you, that which is irritating to you, don't do that to other people. That is obligatory. You may not go around irritating other people. That's an obligation that exists at all times. What I spoke about, picking up somebody's coat, speaking positively about them, that's what we call kiyumus. That means you have the opportunity to do it at any time. But you're not obligated as you walk around to to take care of everybody's stuff and to start speaking positively about it anytime you think about somebody or see somebody. So I'm just pointing out that there are two levels here. So being a nudnik and irritating people, for example, so that we can't do anytime to anyone. Acting positively, going out of your way, that is a kiyumus that you're able to do it, that you're called upon to do in this opportunity. Examples: treating somebody with respect, seeking the best for them, joining in their pain, greeting them, saying hello. When I walked in here today, I got a big hello. That is the mitzvah of V'ahavta Re'echa Kamocha. It says more than giving somebody a glass of milk, meaning physical sustenance, says the Gemara. You give them more if you show them the white of your teeth. I think the phrase is the white of the glass of milk. The white of your teeth is better than the white of the glass of milk. Saying hello. That's a mitzvah, the araisa, a mitzvah from the Torah to allow somebody as yourself. Give them the benefit of the doubt. You'll see the separate mitzvah coming up. Assist them physically. Give them loans. Camouflage their deficiencies. Diffuse their anger at somebody else. Do their shopping. Offer to give them a ride. Help them with their homework. Relieve their anxiety. They're looking for a shidduch to get married. Help them find a shidduch. They need shalom bayis advice. Give them shalom bayis advice. Resolving an argument, and so on. What about when you have a conflict? Can I please borrow your car? Well, I need my car. So now what? So the answer is, again, we'll have to do it very quickly. So if the two needs, if his need is greater than mine, so the mitzvah applies. He wants to borrow money, and I have no need for it, I should lend him the money, assuming you'll be able to get it back, assuming he's trustworthy. You don't have to lend money to people who are not trustworthy and whom you think is a risk you won't get it back. But assuming there's a need that's greater than yours, you should lend it to him. I could make $5 interest. Doesn't count here. In other words, the precedence is here's a greater need. What about same relative need, but his need is certain and yours is uncertain. So, can I borrow your car? And you say, well, I might need it later. He has a present, real need, and you have a possible later need. So the answer is you take precedence. It has to be a real possibility. You can't say like, well, you know, it has to be real and possible. It can't be like remote. These cases go into things like kidney donation. And then pikuach nefesh also applies. So this is a massive topic, obviously, and the mitzvah on the table when it comes to kidney donation or anything else is V'ahavta Re'echa Kamocha. Okay, that's mitzvah number 1. Should we carry on? Mitzvah number 2. B'tzedek tishbot amisecha. It's on the sheet, you can follow along, judging fairly. So what should you think in the following cases? I'm going to meet you for coffee at 1 o'clock, and your friend is not showing up, and it's 1:15 and it's 1:30, and he's still not there. What should you think? Your spouse comes home and is not very nice to you. What should you think? So I'm setting up these questions because we have a human tendency to pass judgment on other people all the time. The Torah is telling you, refine the way you perceive other people. And as you're going to see soon, there's going to be guidelines for how you should pass judgments on others. So, it goes like this. It's going to be a little technical. I'll jump into it. There's the type of person. That means he's my friend. I know him. There's the type of action. He's late and he's not here. So the rule is like this. If he's the type of person that he's a tzaddik in this area, that means he always acts the right way in this area. He always shows up. He generally calls me. So then his being late, I am obligated to view that positively. His car must have broken down. His kid must have really needed it. I must make up an excuse to understand his actions in a positive light. So this guy's a tzaddik in this area. I must make up an excuse why it's positive. Now, people are complex. So a person can be a tzaddik when it comes to eating kosher food. He might be a rasha. He might always act the wrong way when it comes to positive speech. gossip. So I'll give you another example. You're at a party or an outing somewhere, and two people are talking, and they look at you, they look at each other, and they laugh. What should you think? Are they speaking negatively about me? So the answer is, if these two people are known to be Rashayim, always act wrongly in the areas of Lashon Hara, it would be, the Torah says, believe it or not, you're meant to see that in a negative light. Because the action looks suspicious, you don't know for sure, but they always act negatively in the area of speech, so I'm meant to view it in a negative light. In other words, the Torah says, don't be naive.
You don't have to, you could, you think. You could just...
So the person who's a Rasha and it appears negative, the Rambam says to view it negatively. Gedalia ben Achikam, the father Gedalia, his mistake was he got told that there were assassins who were plotting. He was a big tzaddik, and he said, no, I don't listen to Lashon Hara.
Very good.
And he ended up losing his life. There's a whole schmooze about that, but the point is that Judaism is not telling you to be naive. So although we're meant to judge positively, meant to include context.
Is that only because it'd be suspicious that maybe harm will come from it?
There you go.
Don't be naive because maybe harm will come from it, or just is it?
It seems that regardless of what potential harm could come. However, for most of us here, the overwhelming way to fulfill this mitzvah is to judge positively. I'm giving you a case where that's fairly extreme and to tell you to not be naive. But the overwhelming case, our spouses, our bosses, our co-workers, people we supervise, our students, the kid is acting crazy this morning. Does he have it in for me? I found out later, he's coming from a divorced home.
He needs meds.
Or he needs meds.
He didn't take them.
We didn't take them. So this mitzvah is to make up creative ways to explain positively what a person is doing. Okay. Number 3. Don't hate. So it says, Lo sisna es achicha b'levavecha. Don't hate your brother in your heart. Guess what? So the Torah is talking about feelings a person has inside, not just expressed. So people that we encounter are not like us. They're different, irritate us, and so on. Guess what? The Torah tells us, unbelievable, don't hate them in your heart. Meaning, even if I don't express it to them. So for sure, if I express it to them and say horrible things, so I do the first mitzvah of loving my fellow as myself. What about if I don't say anything? I just harbor hatred. It says in the Farshim, no, harboring hatred is prohibited because it'll come out later and could harm him. When later I'd speak negatively about him, or later I blurt out that which I've been harboring inside my heart the whole time. But even without him, even if you won't get out, it's not good for you yourself to harbor hatred. All you're allowing is somebody else to steal your happiness. Why let somebody else steal your happiness? So that's the mitzvah of not hating something in your heart.
Is there a way, let's talk about a way to control that, because it's hard to like, when someone wrongs you, it's hard not to hate them, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, excellent. So the rest of the verse is hocher tocher, give them constructive criticism. The onus on somebody who's been wronged is to open a dialogue with that person and say, that wasn't cool, or that hurt. I'm feeling hurt right now. I know that I'm using words that are like easier said than done, but the Torah injunction is that the victim, who's likely to feel the anger, has the onus to go and speak to the aggressor and say, do you know what just happened? You just cut me off, or you interrupted me while I was talking to, or that was really embarrassing. Make sense?
Well, let's think of like divorce, right? Someone divorces someone and they're feeling hatred towards the other person. What do they say about that? Because it's hard not to feel hatred towards certain people.
Excellent.
I don't remember, like, I don't know.
So I had a case in Israel. It wasn't a divorce case, but it was two friends, and the one said something, said on the phone, oh, we're not really friends, and it really hurt the other person. And they were feeling anger and hatred. So when I went to my rabbi and we had a discussion about it, the answer is that the feelings will subside by themselves then there's no need to open the dialogue. But the trick is, you have to work on letting those feelings subside.
So how are you fulfilling the commandment of do not hate if you're taking time for those feelings to subside? You're still hating until it finally goes away.
Good point. Thoughts that pop into your head, you're not accountable.
Okay.
It's when you dwell on the thoughts, or decide, you know what, I'm really going to think about that time that they did this. In other words, yeah, makes sense.
Makes sense.
Okay. When we get to
just another way maybe to work on it is like the Chofetz Chaim says, to realize that no one could really affect us. And anything that's happening to us is supposed to, this person did this, but they're wrong, but whatever's supposed to happen to me is supposed to happen to me. It can't affect me, and I could sort of like,
Brush it off.
whatever's supposed to happen to me, the guy hit you, listen, that means you were supposed to get hurt, for whatever reason.
Like a mailman.
But he just happened to be the person, but it's really, would have happened anyway. Blame myself.
Another way is, can you separate between a person and their actions? And the answer is yes. Judaism asks you to separate between a person, their essence, which we say is always good, but their actions come out sometimes all messed up. And so what you're being asked to do when you try to encounter this person that's really bothering you is to say, yeah, I love their essence. They're Tzelem Elokim. They're a soul, and they have tremendous value. But right now, this stuff is really, really bothersome, but it's not them. So I don't like the actions, and I don't like what they stand for. But we're going to get along, and we're going to live together. So making that separation also will help. Okay. Number 4. So giving constructive criticism, 2 applications. One application is the one we just saw. Somebody wrongs you, so you have the obligation to go to them and open a dialogue. Gently and in private, ideally. The other is, not that they wronged me, but they're doing something wrong. They're stealing from that guy. They're insulting that person. There's a mitzvah to go and help them improve. Hocheach tochiach means, this guy is ignorant or missing a piece of the puzzle. I should fill him in. Why should we do this? I live and let live, mind your own business. So the answer is that we're all connected. The Jewish people's welfare, spiritually, is all bound to each other. A Rebim Zelazeh means that his Aveira, his transgression, is also on my record. So I should want to go and help him. The analogy just given is that we're all like one body. And if I don't help him, it's like I've stolen from him, because when he gets to Shemayim, when he gets to the next world, and he says, hey, I was doing this wrong the whole time, why didn't you tell me? So right now I have an obligation to tell him. How do you do this? Okay, this is very hard. Rav Zev Cohen, a rabbi in town, says this is his hardest mitzvah, to give people constructive criticism. Why? Because people naturally, when you tell them, do you know this and this, they'll say, as the Gemara says, if you tell somebody there's a splinter in his eye, he'll tell you there's a beam coming out your forehead. Okay. That was like in the year 200 CE. So the way to do it is privately, no one else around. Gently. And the Svarim, the Rebbe Chinuch say, couch it with a positive in the beginning, then the tochacha, and then a positive at the end. A bit like a sandwich. Makes it a lot easier. The other way in Chinuch is, you say, you're such a good person. This is beneath you. And there you haven't focused on the action, but you focus on the goodness of the person, and they feel better about themselves having come out of it. Okay.
Often I think you tell the person, I'm sure that you didn't mean to do, you don't realize this is having this effect, or this is happening, you're not aware that it's a problem. It speaks up to them that you're not assuming they're a bad person, you're judging them favorably and didn't mean to, not just making them aware of it.
Yeah. Right. Good. Number 5 follows right in the next in the rest of the verse. You can see in the source. It says when you give them constructive criticism, don't hurt them. Yeah, right. Don't hurt them with your words. It should be number 6. Number 6. I flipped the order. So that means that you can't embarrass them when you tell them that, do you know that you've been doing this wrong? All the more so you can't embarrass somebody in just a regular situation. In other words, if you can't embarrass them when you're helping them get better, all the more so you can't embarrass them just in a regular day. So there's a prohibition against embarrassing somebody. Embarrassing publicly is the worst form. So here's some questions. What about playing a practical joke on somebody? A practical joke, who gets the enjoyment?
You?
Right. The one pulling the joke. The one who's the victim of the joke doesn't necessarily. So to pull a practical joke might be a prohibition of embarrassing somebody. How about a teacher knowingly asking a question the kid doesn't know the answer to? So in certain circumstances, that could be he's embarrassing the kid on purpose. Granted, it may not be the best for educational, but also it might be a problem of this prohibition. That was embarrassing. Oh, so number 5, I skipped the order, I'm sorry. Number 5 is don't hurt somebody with words. That's something else. So I'm not embarrassing them, there's nobody else around, but I'm just hurting them with words. So the Gemara gives various examples. You're going into a store and you ask for the price of an item that you have no intention of buying. What's the problem? So we're talking about a situation where the salesperson he's the owner, he's invested in the sale. He's not just some regular salesperson. So he's invested in the sale. You asking the price, his hopes go up. And then when you say, no, I'm not interested, he gets disappointed. So you can't ask him what's the price of the item if you have no intent of buying because you're setting him up for disappointment. Okay, nowadays, most of the storekeepers you go around to actually enjoy the fact that you're walking in their store and you're allowed to ask them the prices because they want foot traffic and it's good for them. But here we're talking about, and you have to apply it, when the person is invested and I let them down. So that would be the transgression of hurting somebody with words, of not ask to borrow. That make sense? Differentiation?
If you preface your question saying I'm just price comparing, and
Correct.
I'm not interested in buying.
That's right. That's right. Reminding somebody who's converted to Judaism about his parents or his former deeds. Reminding somebody who's about Tshuva, who's improved, about what they used to do. So, so to say to somebody, oh, who would have ever guessed you would have turned out this way? Well, it's a compliment on one hand, but it could be very hurtful on the other hand. So that you couldn't do. Okay. Where are we up to? Number 7. Thank you. Revenge and bearing a grudge. Bearing a grudge. Okay, definition. Revenge is like this. I say, can I please borrow your pencil? Here's the pencil, and the fellow's in here. Can I please borrow your pencil? And he says no. And the next day he comes to me, and this is my book, and he says, can I please borrow your book? And I said, no, you didn't lend me your pencil yesterday. I'm not going to lend you my book today. That's called revenge. Okay, we'll give examples soon. What's the definition of bearing a grudge? Bearing a grudge is, can I please borrow your pencil? And he says, no. The next day he comes to me and says, can I please borrow your book? And I say, sure, I'm not like you. I lend stuff. That's called bearing a grudge. Because I remember what he did to me wrong, and I pull that card at a later time. The Torah says, don't do either of those. This is not a social contract, loving fellow as yourself, where, oh, because you lend me, I lend you. This is an absolute. There's an absolute mitzvah to do nice things for other people. And it's going to be order precedence to my wife, then to my kids, then to my family, then to people in my city, then to Jews in Jerusalem. We're going to get to the order of precedence. Absolutely, so it's not tit for tat. And also, when I do lend it to him, I don't then use that, his moment of vulnerability when he needs to borrow something now, I'm going to pull a card and say, oh, I'm not like you. Okay, so these are both prohibitions. So for example, you have a study partner, a chavrusa, and he came late last night. Can you say, I'm going to come late tonight? So if it's a way of getting back at him, that would be the prohibition against taking revenge. If it's just practical, you know the guy always arrives at 10 past 8. So that's practical, and that's fine. But to say in your head, oh, he came late last night, I'm going to come late tonight, you couldn't do that. How about taking revenge passively, by not doing anything?
Passive aggression.
So that's the classic case mentioned by the Gemara. It was the Gemara where the guy says, "Can I borrow your book?" And I say no, because you didn't. So do I? Even without saying no, I'm not lending it to you. I just turn around, give the cold shoulder, passive aggression. That would be included in this prohibition. Fights. A fight is going on. Can I hit back?
Yeah, you should do it by yourself, right?
Correct. So the Torah says, "Chayeka kodmin," your life comes first. You may, in fact, are obligated to defend yourself. That is not called revenge. It's only a situation where the guy wronged me. Time passes, my feelings settle. Then later I come back and I say, boom, or I'm not going to lend you. That's the prohibition of revenge. But while the fight is going on, you're allowed to defend yourself for sure, especially physically, especially kids in the schoolyard. Adults who generally don't fight with fists, but generally fight with words, so there we would say you don't have to be a stone, but it's best not to respond. Why put yourself in the mud? Either be silent, or if you can be Hercules, say something positive, turn it around. To later, after the fight's over, come back and say another hurtful word. That would be revenge.
What about in deeper cases when you have kids in school talking, trash about you and you just get upset, you can't do anything about it. It's called bearing a grudge against them. How are you supposed to subdue those feelings of hurt and hatred? Cases like that. You know what I'm saying? I feel like there's more complicated than just lending.
Oh, yeah.
So what are you supposed to do in situations like that?
So some of the advice that is given, one was emunah. So everything that happens to me, there is a reason. I don't know what it is. It hurts right now, but there is a reason for it, and God runs the world. Give some context. Another one is that it's not. A person doesn't have to be upset about everything in this world. This world passes. Over 120 years. Why make such a big fuss? Okay, I'm giving you some what the sages say. I know it's hard to apply when you're schools or various life situations, but so I'm going to say the words and everyone here has to apply it. So why make a big fuss? It's really worth ruining my happiness over the infraction or the insult that somebody gave me? Okay, so however, there are also practical things. A kid who's suffering from a bully in school, go to a teacher, go to a principal, go to a rabbi, and get it sorted out. So when we mention these mitzvahs, there is a lot of life wisdom that has to come with it. So a person could be a big saint and suffer at the hands of a bully when he doesn't need to. So what I'm saying is I'm giving you the life guidelines, but it also needs advice from an individual. Does that make sense a little bit?
Important to differentiate between incidents. The Torah case is like an incident that happens and an ongoing situation of abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, all kinds of abuse. That's serious stuff. The Torah doesn't say look the other way. The Torah says you got to figure out how to fix the situation.
Correct. Correct. Okay. Should I carry on? Okay. Give me all right, I'll zip through the rest. Giving tzedakah. Charity, not voluntary, but it's mandatory in Judaism. So typically it's 10% of one's post-tax income. To who should it be given? To a poor person. What's the definition of a poor person? Poor person is somebody who doesn't have enough money for the year. Typically that works out that you can't pay your bills for that month. Somebody who's in the red each month, that person will be in the case of a category of an ani, and so him will be worthy to give tzedakah. since the Rambam lists a bunch of levels of tzedakah, that means where both the giver and the receiver know each other, so there could be an element of embarrassment on the receiver's part. It's therefore best to give it via a third party. So today, practically, what you try to do is you try a charity administrator to whom the funds will be dispersed. So, for example, there's one in Chicago, the Chicago Chesed Fund, Rabbi Shmuel first. So he's in touch with all the aniyim who come to him and say, I need this, I need that. He's also in touch with the donors. The money goes through him. So 2 years ago on Purim, he gave out $135,000. And nobody knew who was giving and nobody knew who was receiving. What I mean to say is the receiver and the givers didn't know each other. I mean, he knew who was giving and he knew who was giving too. That's the best way and the most practical way to do it today. What about somebody who comes to you in shul, let's say, is collecting money, they're the person in front of you. So the lowest level is to give begrudgingly. The next level up is to give with a pleasant manner, but less than appropriate. Next level up, you give after the person asks. So the best would be with a smile, appropriate amount, but it's after he asked. What will be the next level up?
For not asking you?
Right, excellent. Give it before he asks. What will be the next level up? The giver doesn't know who got the money. That would be when I put it in the push key, let's say, and then the poor person takes on the push key, or the administrator, like I mentioned earlier. The next level up is the recipient knows, but the giver doesn't know. They neither know, and the highest level is
Give him a loan,
correct. Give him a loan.
so he can start a business and be independent.
Right. Right.
Take care of themselves.
Which is better, a loan or an investment?
It depends how you define a loan. Loan is often defined as an investment.
So paying back the money, let's say, as a loan. A higher level will be I invest money, I'm a partner with him, and the highest level above is what you mentioned is give him a job.
Well, the highest level according to Rambam is to give him a loan so he becomes in a business, he can make himself independent. That's really what he was saying.
Teach them how to fish.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Give him the money to buy a pole. So he can give you back the money. Out of everything.
Honoring one's parents.
So he isn't embarrassed, that's the key.
Right. Honoring one's parents is number 8. Your parents are partners in your creation, and give to you a lot. We only really realize this when we have our own kids. I think it's easy to do this mitzvah once you have your own kids because you see how much you invest in kids. There are 2 aspects. Respect means not contradicting them. Honor, there are 2 things. Fear your parents and honor them. So I'll say it like this. So fearing them means not contradicting them, not sitting in their seat, not disgracing them, not treating them as equals, not calling them by their first name. The other aspect is honor. That means taking their will seriously. So if they're cold, bringing them a sweater, offering them food, offering them drink, making them feel cared for. Father says, I'm cold, close the window. If I get up and close the window, I fulfill the mitzvah of honoring my father. If I say no, I just transgressed. What about the father says, I feel like, they have needs that you don't think are needs. I think the ceiling's falling down. Can you do something about it? So it's based on what they think. So to put a strut up, my Rebbe gave this example, there was a case of somebody's father who was having an issue, I guess, with his perception, and thought the ceiling was falling down. So put a beam up. That would be the mitzvah of honoring one's parents. This is an extreme example of where you don't judge it by your own standards. Judge by what they need, taking their will seriously.
I want a ham sandwich.
Excellent.
I want my son.
That's not so excellent.
So that's not so excellent, right? You could not give them a ham sandwich.
No,
Bacon,
Right.
bacon.
What about they say, I want you to wear a sweater? If they say, I want to wear a sweater, there's a mitzvah to bring them a sweater. But now they're saying, I want you to wear a sweater. I think it's cold, and you're cold, you should wear a sweater.
That's more typical example.
Right.
And
I
say
got a
the
sweater
mitzvah.
on.
Right. So that you're not obligated in it. You're not obligated in it, but if it doesn't cost you anything, time, effort, etc., then why not do it?
But if your wife says it, you're obligated. Your wife says
Your wife
So
said-
why do I
you better put a
it?
sweater.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you
Question.
think.
Question. Rehan, have a question?
Yeah, oh, sorry.
You worded that right.
What would be the best way to honor your parents if they suffered from any mental illness of any kind?
Excellent. So, that is probably the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim as well. The two mitzvahs applying here. So visiting the sick. So visiting the sick you do in three ways. Take care of their physical needs, medications, assistance, hospitals, doctors, spending time with them, just showing up, and the last one is praying for them. That's how you do the mitzvah of taking care of a sick person. So assuming that situation. And then when it comes to honoring them, so since their needs are totally different than, let's say, mine or my other peers, so I should try to be as sensitive as I can to what they need. That's a 1 foot. That one's on 1 foot. Does that help you a little bit?
So saying do you have to give into that request because they think they need it? I mean, that's sort of like your example. The guy felt the sin was falling down. Obviously, you know.
So Rebecca was,
if they're thinking of these things because they're in a
Dementia.
mental state of dementia, or whatever it might be. Now the question is, when you do it for them, is that going to solve that need, or they're just like,
so Rebecca's example in this case of the strut and the roof falling in was, it's not a big deal for me, and it makes them feel better. I don't know what to say. I think this would require a discussion about where they would still feel the anxiety, let's say.
I just want to point out that if a person has state dementia, you don't have to get a real structural beam from Home Depot. You can probably just put a pole. I'm serious. If the person's in that state, you can do something which just look on the exterior, it looks like you're doing something, and it might assuage their feelings and might take care of it. You don't have to necessarily do a real village inspection on it.
a lot of times it could be though, you know, okay, you take care of this thing, it's just going to be something else. It's not like you're really solving their problem.
You mean treating symptoms and not the cause?
You know, the cause or something, are you really taking away the anxiety? Okay, but you know,
Right.
it might just be something else once you take care of this, not every case is very complicated.
Right. We mentioned the parent asks you to wear a sweater. What about parents who say, I want you to marry this person, I want you to live over there? So children are responsible for their major life decisions. The Talmud says clearly that he wanted to go and study Torah in a certain place, and the father says, no, you can go. You can go. Your life, or you want to marry this person? Earlier on, of course, you try to educate a child, you know, what kind of decisions to make, but ultimately you are responsible for your own big life decisions. Finishing up, distance yourself from falsehood. So this is based on the messages you give other people. So the mother asks the child, did you brush your teeth? The kid does this. He's saying, yeah, I didn't brush your teeth. Yes, Mom, I brushed my teeth. Yeah, he ran his finger over his teeth. But the message he's conveying is that I took a toothbrush with toothpaste. He didn't really do that. So when it comes to emes v'sheker, truth or falsehood, it's dependent on the message that you're giving. What about dealing with somebody who's lying to you? So this is a classic case of Esav and Yaakov. Esav was lying to him effectively and creating a wrong state of affairs. You are allowed to trick a trickster. Cab driver says it's going to be $5 for that coat. Come bring a coat in my car. So I said, no, I don't have $5. Obviously, it's a slippery slope. Everybody thinks they're right. But when you're dealing with a trickster, then you are allowed to trick back. This doesn't apply to children. Children don't have the ability to differentiate between all the various nuances in truth and falsehood. So you couldn't...
Is that only to prevent you from being tricked by them, or you could...
Correct, only to prevent you from being tricked.
Not just to get back to them to trick them.
No, that would be revenge.
Right.
Right, good. Don't gossip is the prohibition against Lashon Hara. We're going to finish up with this, the last two. So the point here is not to wear a muzzle, but to view people positively. Lashon Hara is even when it's true. The guy really drives like a maniac, or he really embezzles. But if there's no benefit to the guy knowing, my wife knowing, or my friend knowing, then it would be Lashon Hara to say it. Finally, don't believe Lashon Hara, meaning don't think that it's absolutely true. A lot of stuff that people say is anecdotal, or it's not confirmed. Finally, become a person with godlike qualities means that we want to aspire not just to be nice people, but because Hashem has said there's a standard, a bar of how great you could become, even beyond what your society thinks is fine and is menschlichkeit and is nice. There's a bar here that's much higher. So you should aspire to become a super, super sensitive, refined human being.
That's a mitzvah between man and man.
Yep, my Rebbe says that when you do an act of kindness, you can fulfill love your fellow, walk in God's ways.
Right, but I'm saying, but is that a mitzvah between man and man walking in God's ways, or just when
Yeah.
you're doing it, you're usually doing it through some other mitzvah ben adam lachaveru?
So the poets can say it's both. It's between man and man, and it's between man and yourself. In other words, yeah, that's how I bring it down.
How is that the mitzvah between man and man?
Mahu rachum afata rachum, just like he had compassion, so I'm going to be compassionate to so and so.
But isn't that like that? That's who you should be, and because the way you be that is by doing all the other mitzvahs ben adam lachaveru. So is it like
I hear.
It's expressed in this way. You mean it's expressed in Beno
it's expressed through all the other mitzvahs? Like is it?
For the next time. Okay, thank you everyone. We'll stop here.
Interesting.
Thank you.